everybody. Welcome to Coffee Talk. I have to really bite my tongue right now. I'm wanting to say good morning, everyone, but we're coming to you at 3:30 in the afternoon. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are your hosts, Southborough Youth and Family Services. My name is Sarah Castle. I am the Director of Youth and Family Services. I'm happy to be back this week. I was not here last week. Was that just last week?
It was.
It was just
Yes, it feels like a long time ago, though.
Yeah, it does. Well, per usual, I'm happy to introduce our Assistant Director, Megan Island. Good afternoon. I almost said good morning, Megan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And our Program Coordinator, Shannon Knyman. Good afternoon, Shannon.
Hello, Sarah.
And we are thrilled to have a good friend on today's show, our winner of the 2021 Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award, Chelsea Bradway. Welcome, Chelsea. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello. We normally start Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is named Coffee Talk because it's like a morning thing.
Right.
So today maybe is like water bottle talk or something like that. So let's toast. Cheers.
Yes. Cheers.
Let's all get hydrated.
Yes.
Although I don't know how much hydration we need after this past weekend we had.
Definitely.
What did everybody do to pass the time? We had 3 or 4 consecutive days of rain.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's rough.
It was not super fun. I was supposed to be camping.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we had some sense and said, maybe we're the type of people that love camping so much that we would try and make it work. But I'm glad we did not try to make it work.
No.
It would not have been fun.
Wet.
No.
Right. Wet and muddy. And I'm sure my kids would have had a great time. But my type A personality probably would have come out in full effect. Like, please take your shoes off before you come in. Or, you just give up after a certain point. It's like, there's water in the tent, there's water outside the tent, just whatever. Just come on in. It's fine. So I'm glad we did not do that.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what did you do this last weekend?
I wrote progress reports.
Woo!
I did. But, it was rainy, so I wasn't sad about it being sunny. But I did sneak away to C'est La Vie in Northborough, a little French bistro restaurant with one of my best college friends. And it was delicious and fun to be an adult without a mask. It was very nice. So I did, that was my reinforcement.
That's great.
I got very much done. I could go do that.
What a nice perspective to have, though, that you're okay with doing your progress reports because you're not missing. It's just rainy outside, and it's not a day that you're cooped up inside when it's beautiful outside. So
that would have been harder, but I still
yeah.
Well,
Well,
how about
great.
you guys?
Ladies, what did you do this weekend? Some reading?
Of
Good.
course.
We got 2 bookworms among us.
Oh,
Yes.
Reading and the Bruins. So
Yes.
we had like a
watched the Bruins.
50-50 turnout. 1-1,
Yeah.
lost 1. So
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
yeah. Overtime losses are painful.
Mhm.
We lost in overtime last night, so it's like
Yeah.
hard. I'd rather just lose in the regular time than overtime.
I'm a
fun
Celt-
fact. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm a Celtics fan. And so there was a game this weekend and they're just not doing so hot. So
we watched that as well.
Yeah.
Not so hot. Not so hot.
ouch.
Yeah. I feel like we are compiling like some really good content for like a Coffee Talk trivia game. Because I don't know, I was just gonna say, I don't know if people are aware that Megan is a diehard Boston Bruins fan.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody would like necessarily know that looking at her or, talking to her. And Shannon, I think I only learned just recently how much you like the Celtics. So that's great. So when we do a trivia show, a year from now, maybe, we can say, who is Shannon's favorite, or what sport does Shannon like to watch?
But you would be like the outlier because like yours is football. However, it's not the Patriots that you.
It's not. That would be like the
Follow.
trick question.
Yep.
We don't want to spill the beans in this episode because then everyone would have all the answers right now.
I
True.
know it. I know. We're gonna have to save that for a later episode. Chelsea, do you like sports? Do you follow any sports?
We watched the Super Bowl because we like
Mhm.
halftime.
Yeah.
And we like to make, when Patrick entered our lives, he started making Super Bowl snack stadiums. So
Fun.
Oh
lots of
boy.
snacks, and you would put them in a stadium.
That's
So
great.
that, we get into that. It is fun. Like I do
That's
watch,
the artist in him.
yeah, yeah, snacks. I watch any
great.
sports you want. No, I'm not against them. I'm just,
Yeah.
I didn't really, except for skiing.
Mhm.
And like the Tour de France, which is very boring. We didn't really watch any sports.
Yeah.
But
It's funny.
open mind.
Yeah. Well, sounds like this weekend with all of the bad weather we had, it was a good opportunity for some of us to watch some sporting events and do some reading and progress reports and not camp.
Right.
Yes. Well, so I would love to talk a little bit more about why Miss Chelsea's with us today. So we mentioned at the top of the show that Chelsea is this year's recipient of the Laurie Sugarman Whittier Wellness Award. And every year we give out this award to someone who's been nominated. We had some fantastic nominations this year. It was a really great year for that, and it was some really amazing and different things that people were doing in the community. It was really nice to see. So every year we solicit nominations from the community for this award, and it lines up with the exception of last year, our observance of Mental Health Awareness Month. And so, let's see, last year we did things, we were off schedule a little bit because last year was kind of a crazy year. We were, I don't even know what we were doing in May last year. I think we were just trying to survive.
Survive. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But at the end of the year, our board and our department, we were very interested in making sure we highlighted some really incredible contributions to the community through the start of the pandemic. And so last year's recipient was the director of the Southborough Food Pantry, Miss Barbara Jandrew. So hello, Barbara, if you're watching. I know she sometimes does. And then the year before that was actually our first year doing this award. And that went to Mary Ellen Duggan, who at the time was the nurse at Woodward. And Mary Ellen was actually, I feel comfortable going ahead and saying that Mary Ellen was nominated again this year. So clearly Mary Ellen is a well-loved member of our community and does a lot to help us. So, so who is Laurie Sugarman Whittier? She is the former director of our department. Before me, Laurie worked here for over 30 years. She retired in 2016 as the director of our department, and she did a lot for the community during her 30 plus years. She was a strong advocate for mental health services, community mental health, and she left her mark in our community after she retired, and left her mark on so many families too. So our board and our department really wanted to find a way to honor her after her departure. She is comfortably retired out in Western Massachusetts with a grandchild, and with her 2 daughters close by. And so she's doing very well. But we wanted to continue to remember her contributions after she left. And so we created this award in her honor. And so there's a few different criteria for nominations. I have to remember all of them. So it could be somebody who is all of these things or just one of these things, but a person who is a mental health or human service advocate, could be an individual that embodies wellness and resilience, especially after overcoming something challenging of their own. And it could also be someone that has worked in some other capacity to promote human welfare in Southborough. Basically, somebody who has worked to try to make our community a better place for all. So Chelsea was nominated, and our board, I believe it was a unanimous. I'm trying to remember who was at this meeting, but I think it was a unanimous vote to have Chelsea chosen as this year's recipient. So I want to transition to talking a little bit more about you, Chelsea, specifically. So you wear many different hats.
Yes.
You do. So you're a mom, you're an artist, a special education teacher, a volunteer, a mental health advocate. And so maybe we can start with your daytime job,
Sure.
or even your daytime job, but also your role as a resident here in Southborough too. Anything you want to mention about that?
Sure.
Tell us more about what drew you to that field of being a teacher, and then also about your history here in the community.
Okay. Well, first, I am just overwhelmed and kind of, and I don't know if shock's the right word, but just like, wow, I feel like I should say I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves, like in coffee.
That would be appropriate.
Amongst yourselves, which is kind of how I feel.
I'm gonna zhuzh my hair right now.
Yeah, zhuzh. Zhuzh. Take a moment to zhuzh. Oh boy, I'm not so good about talking about myself, but I will do my very best. So being a teacher, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to be a marine biologist, and went to school in Maine for 3 years, and then realized it's really, really hard. And no matter how hard I worked, I wasn't doing well. But I was doing really well in psychology. So I was like, well, maybe I should do that. And I was at UMass Amherst for the last 2 years. And in the summer, I didn't ever want to come home because I grew up in the Berkshires and thought there's nothing to do in the Berkshires, so I'm never leaving. And there was a news, back when they had newspapers, there was a newspaper, and it's, it was at a position as a camp counselor at the rec department in Amherst. And so I applied, and this woman called me and said, yeah, I don't think you would be a good camp counselor. I think you would be a good special needs counselor. And I was like, what? Okay. And I was like, I don't know. I felt like I was 12 years old. I was a kid, and I don't know if I know what I'm doing. But I went, and I had a little boy who was not easy, but I tapped into my psychology books and thought, okay, we're going to work on like positive reinforcement. And he really got it. And then I just fell in love with, I guess camp is kind of teaching, but I fell in love with helping kids that it's not so easy for them to learn as everyone else learns. I wish I could remember his name. I was trying to remember that. So I did that for 2 summers, and I loved it. And then thought, oh, now I'm graduated. What am I going to do with a degree in psychology? So another newspaper, my dad sent me in the mail a clipping from the Boston Globe. And it said, hey, there's this place in Southborough called New England Center for Autism at the time. And he's like, and they'll pay for your graduate school. I was like, okay, I see where this is going. So he was like, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. So I came out here to interview in my little like pink Ford Probe, because that was cool back then. And, or maybe not, and interviewed, and they said, yeah, we'll hire you and we're going to put you in home base. So that was scary.
I have to just interject for 1 second, because right now I am learning something that we have in common. I had no idea that you used to work there.
Yes.
That's where I worked before I came to work for the
No
town
way.
of Southborough. We'll,
Wow.
we'll have to talk about it later.
Yeah, we'll talk.
But I had no idea. That's so
Yes.
cool.
1997. No,
Wow.
97, I think. Or no, 96 is when I moved out here, but 97 is when I moved to Southborough.
Okay.
So I, trudged through my 3 years, and it was hard, probably the hardest job I've ever had,
Mhm.
but definitely the most rewarding. I don't know if I say rewarding, but the most education, and really gave me a good basis of what behavior modification was about. And so, and I didn't know anything about autism really, except for, low VOS and all these crazy things. I was like, oh God, I was nervous, but I made it through. And like I said, in like 1997, I came here, and then I just never left.
Mm.
Kind of got stuck in a good way.
That's great.
In a good way. I think so. And now I can't imagine doing any other job. I thought, like, how many years ago now? Like 6 years ago, maybe I didn't want to teach anymore. And then taught 1 year with older kids, and I was like, oh, I definitely don't want to teach anymore. And then went back to preschool, and I was like, okay, now this is where I'm supposed to be. So that is my day job.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not, you do have multiple jobs though, because many of them aren't necessarily paid jobs. So you have a lot of hats that you wear, and another one is your art. So you're a photographer, that's your preferred medium, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your studio work and your artistic photography, and you also, you have an affinity for wings. Yes.
So it's like, I had a hard time at first being like, okay, I'm a photographer, because I was like, I didn't go to school for photography. I didn't study, and I thought, oh, that's like, I don't know, am I really a photographer? And then my mentor, he was like, no, Chelsea, you're a photographer. I was like, okay. Then someone said that I was an artist, and I almost fell off my chair. And I was like, like, again, I'm not, like, I don't paint, I don't like do these beautiful sculptures. And now I'm like starting to be like, okay, all right, I guess I am. Like, why can't I be an artist? Why can't anybody? My 4 and 5-year-olds, they are artists. Like, you can. So I think I was interested in photography back in high school, when there was a dark room, and how fun that was. And I would often maybe not go to class, go to the dark room. And I had this amazing teacher, Mr. Vining, and he just like turned the other way. Like, he knew I wasn't supposed to be there, and he just like let me sneak in. And luckily I did pass high school, so that was good. He really, he was patient and kind, and I really loved it. And then when I was in school in Maine, I really didn't do any photography, because I was trying to pass marine biology, which I did not do. So it wasn't until I came to UMass and was working in a camera store, because I can't just do nothing. And this man came in, he was a photographer, and he was really funny, and his name was Buck, and he actually, rest in peace, he was such a funny man. And he would call me Chester, because he just couldn't say Chelsea. And he would come in like, Chester, I'm going to take your picture. And I was like, no. And he would be like, he'd like this big man, he'd big jovial laugh. And he would just laugh and laugh. And I was like, all right, so I'm like, okay, you can take my picture. So I bring 2 guy friends with me. I'm like, I don't know, is this man saying is going to take my picture? And he was the kindest, funniest man. And he taught me a lot about not just the dark room, but people and how people pose, or what people are wearing and which ways to pose people. Because I never even thought that was a thing. Like, he would yell at me, I'd wear flat shoes, and he's like, don't you have any other shoes? And he'd be like, my hair probably like this. He's like, don't you have a comb? So he taught me a lot about people and posing people. And I was like, okay. And again, like, your life goes up and down, right? So I, again, did photography for a while, came here, bounced around, bought a house, had children, and that, teaching and having children was, at that time, was enough of a job. But it wasn't until I hit 40 that like, I don't know, I could think, not to be dorky or cheesy, but I really felt like I was reborn. There was other big transition that happened in my life. And just was like, I need to figure out who I am. I think I got lost in there and I didn't know who I was. So I started again, another mentor who is a good friend, and is really out of the box. And I think, my friends are like, they don't want me to thank him because he's also a boyfriend, but but he was pivotal in making me relax and be creative and think out of the box like I've always wanted to, but was too afraid. So he was really super helpful and continues to be helpful in that area. And what I do learn, and every day, like, I was just editing photos last night of the mayor in Framingham, which was really neat. And it's really an intimate situation. Sometimes I spend too much time editing because I didn't take the most perfect picture, but like, you're looking at their eyes and their face for an hour, and it's like, it's not, you wouldn't look at someone in person like that, because that would be weird. That would be creepy. But it's just really wild, and it's not exhausting. I want to say exhausting, but you definitely not lose part of yourself, but like, your energy gets almost sucked into their energy. And if it's a great photo shoot, the energy will come back to you. But about the wings, this is actually a really funny Southborough story of one of my favorite places. So the transfer station happened to have a pair of wings one day when we were at the dump, which is, my children find like Christmas. And I like brought them home, and I can't remember, Miley, my daughter, she's probably 5 or 6. And she's this little bouncy creature, like, just happy and all the time happy. And she put them on, and I was like, ooh, I like that. And then, of course, she has a dress up wardrobe that was gigantic. So then she put on this gold sparkly dress, and then it was snowing. Like, we're going outside to take pictures in the snow. And she put on the wings, and she like danced. And it was like my first wing picture. And from that, and I think too, that's when I moved to Deerfoot Road too. So I felt a lot of freedom, and I felt a lot of like wings representing freedom and whimsy and magic, which I've always would have in my head in a book as a little kid and love. So it's actually kind of her fault that the whole wings started. And there's something magical about them.
And DPW, we're gonna have to give them props and be like,
Yes.
Listen, DPW, you have something to do with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Southborough is intertwined in everything. But it's what's neat too is in the studio in Framingham, I have wings like on a coat rack, and people will come in for, whatever shoot, and they'll want to put the wings on, and you see the most stoic people just come alive. It's the neatest thing. They're just like floating around the room, and they're laughing, and they're charismatic, and it's I think it's kind of wonderful. I mean, why would you put on wings? You know, like but why wouldn't you put on wings? It's fun. It's good. It's okay to be older and have fun, whimsical. And so I guess that, I have a lot to thank Southborough for. Transfer station is one of them.
So speaking of that, you found a way to take your art and do volunteer and advocacy work in town. So could you tell us a little bit about projects like the Front Steps Project and the Women's Empowerment Project?
Sure. So I can't take complete credit for Front Steps. That was Carla Celia. She was from Needham, a photographer in Needham, and she put some, I can't remember where I saw it, must have been Facebook, where I get all my good news, right? She put something on there about doing Front Steps photos during COVID. So I emailed her or messaged her on Facebook because I didn't want to just say, can I do this? And she's like, oh my God, yes, that's wonderful. And she's like, I'm giving to this charity. And I was like, that's awesome. But I want to give something that's closer to home. I want to give something back to now where I call home, where I left the Berkshires and then landed here and never left. And that's when I thought to myself, what are places that I think have really helped myself as well as friends? And I thought, you guys, Southborough Community Services has helped directly my family, as well as many, many other families, and the food pantry, because I'm like, it's COVID and how are people eating and how are people getting to the grocery store? And that's a place that always needs money. And so I just said, you know what? And I'm like, I'm doing this. And we had 2 weeks of school where we didn't have any school yet because no one knew what to do. They're like, okay, everyone go home. It was a Tuesday. And then we're like, and we don't know what we're going to do. I was like, that's when it started forming. And it was like a blessing in disguise to be at home. And I actually asked my principal, I'm like, is this okay? Like, I'm not doing it when I'm teaching online Zoom preschool. And she's like, no, that's totally fine. And she was incredibly supportive. But I can't sit still. So for me to be home and not be my type Z personality and be able to sit, I wanted to go out and do something. And I love people and I love seeing people, and I couldn't see anyone. So I thought this was a really nice way for me to get out into the community, for me to give something back to the community that I feel like has been incredibly supportive. And I don't know how long you guys have lived here, but when I first moved, I was a little overwhelmed and a little like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I'm too wacky to fit into Southborough. Everyone seems so neat and tidy. And by, like I said, something about 40, like just made me think, you know what? I will fit in, and I'm going to take my wacky self out with the camera and see what happens. And people of this community were incredible. They were so generous and delighted to do something, but I couldn't do this at all without one of my assistant teachers, Kylie Ramsey, who is like my right hand at school. And I could be her mother, literally. She's 20 something and she's amazing. Like I wish I knew what I knew when she was 20. She would answer emails. She would call people, tell them I was running late. She would reconfigure the schedule if some, all these, and she'd be like, well, all these people live over here in Southborough and she doesn't even live here. All these people live here. So why don't you move these people around? She just kept my whimsical self kind of focused, which was amazing. And it was great. And what was very cool too is one company matched what I made. So I was not expecting that. Like I was expecting maybe I'll make a little bit of, not me, but give a little bit of money. And it was a lot of money. That was awesome. Like I felt so good about that project. And I came home feeling good. I'm honestly like, COVID was terrible, but it really was not terrible because it was really fun for me and really gave me a sense of purpose, and I got a lot of joy out of it. It was just crazy. So the women empowerment thing, which is funny, I just got a rejection about a gallery, and it was kind of nasty. Well, not nasty, some of them were nasty, but and I had a moment, and then Patrick said, it'll be okay. So that came out of 100% a feminist, powerful, smart, loving, caring mother. She was 18 when she got pregnant, 19 when she had me. She dropped out of college to raise me back in the 70s. And then when I was in grade school, she went back to school at Smith College. And just, even though I was little, like and I love my father, but she was like, she did it all, right? Like she was the mom, she was like, advocate for women. She just continued on she empowered me, and I think she empowered a lot of other people. And when I was in college, she went to grad school at UMass. And when I was in grad school, she got her PhD in clinical psychology. So like from the beginning, she's always made me feel like I can do anything. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't love the last 4 years of presidency. And it really
That's a
felt
whole
like,
other, no, I'm just
I know,
kidding. That's a
not
whole other talk show.
yeah. But it motivated me to be like, I don't want to go backwards. I want to show how, women are not always, although I feel like we've come so far yet that we haven't, that we're not always sought out as just as important as men in some respects, and have nothing against men. But I just felt like we as women have so many hats. And what as you as a woman makes you feel good and powerful and happy and get you through your days that aren't so good. And so I decided that I was going to do a photo shoot, and I wanted to get 100, and I still am working on 100 women. And the idea was they just come as they are. They come with whatever props they want, but the background is not much. There's like a chair, a stool, a ladder. And they come. Some people came in, a ball gown. Some people came with, barbells. Some people came in their overalls because they, worked with horses. And I just thought, how interesting would this be to have 100 women in a gallery, all different, but yet all the same purpose, and all doing what they feel makes them and makes them feel empowered about who they are. And I just felt like I said, I was feeling a little not so empowered, and I was feeling like it was really negative, and I don't like negatives. So I was trying to think of something positive to do. So that's in the process, and I'm going to keep working on it and, getting good feedback and tweaking things as I need to. But I just think there would be something pretty amazing about 100 women's photos, like at least a decent size, like 11 by 14. And I haven't decided this part yet, but on Facebook, I'll put a quote, what I think, but I haven't decided if that's a good thing to do or not, because I want people to make their own ideas about what they think about women and empowerment. So it's fun, again, my mom, huge part of it. But, again, another thing, you can't do that alone, because my other good friend, Amy, keeps me organized. See a theme, the organization, is there making people sign releases and making sure, okay, it's 10 minutes, because I would be taking photo for 2 hours, and she'd be like, yeah, you're done. So again, it takes a village, and I have a pretty awesome village.
That's great. And I know your mom is, you said, probably watching. What's your mom's name? Her first name?
Pat.
Pat. Shout out to Pat.
You did a good job.
Yeah. She is my hero for sure. And that sounds cliche, but she is my hero. Definitely.
And then, of course, last month you helped us out with the Winged Escape, which was at Chestnut Hill Farms as part of the Hope Walk. So your artwork and your kids' artwork and your partner's artwork was featured along the trails there. And it was perfect because it was part of Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I think maybe as like a final question, what draws you to mental health advocacy work? Because I think all of the things that you do, all of the volunteer stuff really, delves into that.
It's funny. I really was thinking about that question a lot. And I was like, I don't think I knew, like, not that I didn't know what it was, but I didn't think of myself as doing that. I just thought of myself as being me. And there are things that I like to do. And I like when people are happy. I like when I have a part in making something. Now I'm gonna get emotional. Oh my God, I don't even know what's happening. I really find it's super rewarding to make someone feel good about themselves in any kind of way, whether it's, the little people, 3 and 4 year olds that I have, or my own kids, which sometimes rarely in their teenage years, I feel like I don't make them happy. Whether it's a partner, whether it's a complete stranger, like I'm like obviously a very emotional person. I was about to break down, and I will hug everybody. I hugged the lady at Say Levy because she was open. I don't know. Weird hippie. I don't know, but I just always felt good about doing something for someone else without sorry, what's the word I'm looking for a reward, but like I feel rewarded emotionally. I don't like need someone to say, here is this for you. So, I was kind of blown away by this whole thing. And I was like, I don't see myself as like a hero wearing a cape, although it'd be kind of cool to have a Southborough hero cape.
That could be your next series of photos or something. Right. Instead of wings, it could be capes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It kind of makes you like the perfect recipient though, Chelsea, that you're finding intrinsic reinforcement from just doing good for others. And I will mention, Chelsea was modest. She raised a lot of money doing the Front Steps project. It was great that you found, you had a company that stepped forward to do a match. But during a really challenging time for so many people at the beginning of this pandemic, you found a way to use your time and your talents to make individual families remember their togetherness, even though, they might have been like, this is too much togetherness, but it was a time in history that we may never have again. Really important to sort of capture the good in it for each of these families. But then not only that, you donated your time, and then you took the proceeds and you donated it towards the food pantry, and also some to our friends of the Southborough Youth Commission, which help support a lot of our programming around mental health services and helping people with social services, which is, just been a really big need this year. So you've been modest in your description of your background and what you've done, but we see it and the board sees it, and we're also appreciative of what you've done and what you continue to do, especially through your art. So I would love to see a gallery of caped crusaders.
Right. I think it would just be, not, so literally got like feedback today, and one of them was like, it's so cliche, and I was like, ooh, who wrote that?
Mm.
Jay. But there was some very good feedback too, but it was like, you remember the bad stuff, you know, you're like, "Ugh,
Mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
cliche."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what? No. But you know what? I think that's right how we grow, right? We
Mhm,
may not hear everything that we want to hear all the time. It may not be
Mhm.
perfect, and
mhm,
but you keep trying, you keep,
mhm.
I
Mm.
don't always take a perfect picture. Sometimes I have to go back and do it again, or
Mhm.
a lot more time editing than
Yeah.
expected.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, I honestly do everything because I enjoy it. I don't,
Mhm.
I like it. I'm learning. Of course, there's things you have to do you don't enjoy, like the cat litter, but you have to. But I do it because it makes me happy. Like
Mhm.
that's why I do it. And it's, I don't want to say like it's contagious, but you know, you know when I'm in a bad mood, and you know when I'm in a good mood. And I think the
Mhm.
people around me are like, oh, you know,
Mhm.
they can feel it too, and that makes me feel better. So it's like I
Mhm.
said, it can be contagious, and people need to feel happy.
Mhm.
Like there's so much unhappiness and stress and
Mhm.
ick, and it's not the way it was in the
Mhm.
70s, where I think was a lot easier to grow up, and now it's just so.
Mhm.
I am so grateful of you guys and taking care of the people in this community, and you know, my own children, and giving everybody hope, and that, you know, it's okay, like we can do this, and not everyone is the same, and it's okay, or you don't have to get straight A's, or you know,
Mhm.
you can still succeed in life. So I am so grateful for you guys. So
That's great.
thank
This
you.
is just a love fest. I love
Oh, I know.
it. Oh, virtual hugs.
I know.
That's great.
Oh,
We have to wrap up, but I do want to say too that I think you touched upon it. This wasn't part of your nomination, but hearing your history too, it sounds like sort of the re-engagement you had with photography came out of your own personal experience, which is, you know, another thing that we highlight with this award is that
yep.
using your own personal journey to help others and or having overcome something, you know, and so I just want to highlight that too as, you know, really a very generous gift to give to others. So thank you for all of that. And Pat, thank you for Chelsea. Pat and your
Yes.
dad too.
My dad, Gary.
Pat and Gary.
Yeah. If it wasn't for that one ice skating day, no, I would not be here now.
That's
No.
so funny. Well, we're out of time for today, unfortunately. But Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on today. And we did a special time today. We'll be back next week at our usual time, Tuesday at 10. Who do we have coming on? It's our friends from WPI, right?
I think so.
Yep. So
Very
we've been doing a series on psychosocial development at the different stages of life. And so we've done one on adolescents, school age children, and now we're venturing into young adulthood. And so we've got a couple of clinicians from WPI who work with college age students who are going to talk to us about that next week. So we hope to see you then. And thanks so much for joining us today. See you next time.
Bye.